And we are live. Hello and welcome to the Douding Thomas monthly recap for September of 2021. It's October 3rd, and I'll be honest, we barely made it to this show as it is. It's been a bit of a challenge finding time for me and Cliff to find a way to record. So we've had a few false starts, and I would like to apologize to the listeners about that. I would also like to apologize to Cliff because my backup recorder doesn't have an SD card in it. So give me a second here. And yeah, so we're doing real good here. Cliff is half past dead, so we're hoping that he recovers quickly. And there's the backup recording going. Okay, great. So hello and welcome to the Douding Thomas monthly recap. No, I'm not going to go through all that again, but if it turns out that you just had this very abbreviated intro, that means that my primary recording failed and Cliff had to use the backup, and here we are. So, yeah, we've had a month, and Cliff. Well, first of all, let me start off by saying hello, sir. How are you?
Let me think about this.
Don't think too long. We're already running late.
We are running a little late. I feel like a zombie right now. Wondering if I might have the dreaded pandemic disease. Hoping I don't. I'm hoping it's just allergies.
Yeah.
But my brain is dealing with it like it's COVID. COVID brain.
I mean, I'll be honest. You don't look good, but
I don't feel it. I don't feel like it either.
Yeah.
When my StreamYard name is a little sicky,
Yep.
I'm down in the dumps. But I'm glad to be here and talk tech with you. And
yeah.
Well, you'll tell everybody why in just a few moments, I'm sure, because we're on a special number.
We are. It's something of a milestone, but yeah. So let's just go ahead and dive right into it. This is episode number 100 of the Benefit of the Doubt podcast, at least by my numbering system, which may very well be off. I will be the first to admit that. I think Libsyn actually says I'm in Libsyn right now. Let's just look. I think they said I was a couple numbers off, but let me just pull it up here. According to this, I have. Oh no! Well, okay. So according to this, I have 100 episodes listed. So this might be 101. But yeah. So according to Libsyn, I've got 100 episodes in the can. So that means the one that released earlier today was actually 100. Either way, we're celebrating 100. So it doesn't really matter.
Well, if it's Benefit of the Doubt 101, it'll just be a basic bitch episode, and we can just.
It will. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of cool being 100 episodes in. It's about 18 months after we launched. So we officially. The way it worked out was I was kind of doing episodes throughout the month of March 2020. So, but none of them aired until like the last week of March. I think it was March 27th or something like that. So like I was doing episodes throughout the month of March just to kind of get myself into the habit of doing it. But the first episodes went out March 20 something, and we had 4 episodes drop that week, and then every week since then with give or take a hiatus or 2. So
yeah, I remember you had like 4 episodes in the can. Before you actually launched. So yeah, that's right.
Yeah, those 4 episodes were Michael Fisher talking about foldables. Episode 2 was Swan VR talking about making a viral video. Episode 3 was how coronavirus was affecting supply chains, and that was a bit of a fortune telling episode. Yeah. Prescient, that's the word I'm looking for. And then episode 4 was a reviewer's notebook with David and Mel. So I should revive the reviewer's notebook. I mean, although I guess that's kind of beyond a doubt at this point. But yeah. So anyway, so we've got the show is evolving. I've got a couple of ideas that I'm working on for new stuff to bring to the show. I've got a couple of video segments. We recently launched Behind the Curtain, or Peel Back the Curtain, or whatever you want to call it. The behind the scenes stuff that I've been doing, and actually we'll talk about that in just a little bit because the first episode of that dropped this month. And yeah, but to start before that, I have throughout the 100 episodes, there have been 4 outtakes that I've been, sitting back and editing, and I'm like, and something something happened, and I'm like, oh, that was kind of funny. I should save that. So I did save it, and we're going to wait while Cliff takes off his headphones and walks away, and then sits back down and puts it back on. What's going on? What are we doing here?
I had something off the desk behind me. Sorry.
Gotcha. Anyway, so we've got the 4 outtakes that we're gonna. I'm just gonna play them back, kind of one at a time here, but I'm gonna offer a little bit of context as to where they came from. And the first one, first of all, let me go ahead and share the screen, and I'm gonna do screen number 3, and you're gonna see my waveform forming, but that's fine. Here we go. So the first outtake, I'm not going to do these in the order that they're listed here. The first outtake comes from, I don't remember which of these 2 were first, but this is just a short one. This is when I was recording my iPhone review with John Rettinger back in December, we had some internet issues going on there, and so, like, right towards the end of the interview, we had a couple of hiccups in the internet connection, and this was the result of one of those.
Ooh, groove music.
Oh, you're not hearing that?
Nope.
Oh, crap. Okay. Then that means I didn't share the screen correctly. So let me stop sharing, and let me do that again. Share screen. And we're going to do... Oh, that's why. Okay. I missed a checkbox. Okay, here we go. So this is the John Rettinger outtake from December of 2020. Looking at the benefit of a doubt logo. And while they are doing that, let me go ahead and throw up some other graphics on here. And let's talk about where we can find you on the internet so that people can come visit you and enjoy your awesome content. And we just froze again, didn't we? Holy shit. God damn it, Zoom. You had one job to do. So, yeah, that was a short one. But it was basically just, Zoom was freaking out. And
I was expecting to hear the dulcet tones of John Rettinger. Instead, I just got you cursing Zoom.
So was I. I was expecting to hear the dulcet tones of John Rettinger. So yeah, that was a thing, like, where I think it was my internet. I think it was something on my end, but it was so bad. Like, we both ended up turning off our video feed, so it was just audio. So like, and I think at the time that was like right when I was going to start up the YouTube channel. So I was thinking about making that into like a YouTube video. So that's why I was talking about the logos and stuff like that. So, but I think it was you had one job to do that just kind of struck me as funny. So that's why I kept it. The next outtake comes from our Refraction interview with Refraction AI. You'll recall that's the company that's doing that last mile delivery service. I was speaking with the CEO of Refraction, and we were talking about, actually, it doesn't really matter what we were talking about. This outtake kind of actually speaks for itself. So I'm just going to go ahead and put this out there. I'm going to actually hit the pause button right now because my backup recorder is about to die. So I'm just going to swap batteries real quick. So if you don't mind, just giving me about 30 seconds.
Should I hit pause too?
No, keep your recording going.
Okay.
This is just the backup. So, and actually, this is the second backup. Zoom is my primary backup, and then this is my backup in case the backup goes crap. So if there's one thing that I have learned in the podcast industry, it is you can never have too many backups.
You got belt, suspenders, and then a little bit of duct tape.
And actually, I can't hear you right now because my audio is coming through the recorder. So this is a real professional gig here. You can tell.
I can tell.
Okay. Yeah. So we're back up and running now. Okay. So I'm sorry. What did you say just now? I missed it.
I said you've got belt, suspenders, and even a little bit of duct tape in there, keeping everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, it's like it was. I was actually talking to another somebody who runs a podcast network, and we were just comparing notes the one time, and then he was talking about how he was looking to bring someone on full time to be a podcast producer, and he was getting all these applications from all these people from the sports industry and all these people from the news industry that are all, laid off right now because of the thing. And I'm like, okay, well, that's cool. But you got to remember that most podcasts are held together with duct tape and baling wires. So like these people are coming from big budget places that have like, that can do, send people over to tape things. So like, just keep that in mind when you're interviewing people.
I'm just waiting for somebody to come in with something to dab your forehead, on a little, on a stick to,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
high budget enterprise.
Sorry. It's the makeup lady's day off. So, okay. So yeah, that was the second one. And it was like that kind of interaction. And that was about halfway through our interview when it like really made me realize like, this is a fun guy to talk to.
Yeah, that was a really good interview. And it's funny, actually. I mean, I was listening to a podcast from the Ringer podcast network, which is owned by Spotify. And it still happens even on these like you were saying, well, you weren't exactly saying that, but even on podcasts that have a separate producer that's just listening in while the talent is doing their thing. And in this case, they had to start with the Zoom audio because one of the two hosts forgot to press record.
Ouch. Yep.
So for about 3 or 4 minutes, it's fine, but it happens to the best of us. So.
And okay, so this next clip it has you in it, Cliff, and this is before Doubting Thomas was a live thing that we were doing with StreamYard, or maybe it was. I don't remember. No, you know what? No, it was live because I actually do reference that nobody came on to watch it. So this was from April of 2021, where, as happens frequently during a Doubting Thomas monthly recap, Cliff decided he had to go use the little boy's room. So here we go.
I agree with that completely. Yeah, it was.
Oh, no, it was a dog. It was a dog. That's right.
Yeah. Sorry, I am being distracted by dogs barking in the background. And
why do you think I was talking for so long just now? I tried to carry it, and I was like thinking like, I think the dogs are done barking, so I can stop talking now. And then like right after I was on.
Hold on a second. I'll be right back.
You're the one that bought a hound dog.
If I recall, this is a pretty recent one.
Shut up! You dumb animals! You're about one bark away from being a Craigslist ad. Oh, it's a good thing nobody showed up to watch this. I have no idea what I was doing there. I think drinking water.
It does sound like a crinkly bottle.
What I'm doing there.
It's either that or
just sitting here waiting for the Cliff to come back. Waiting for the Cliff to return to his seat. Waiting for Cliff to come and sit back down and restart talking back to me. This is bad radio, but there's nobody watching, so it's okay. Did you get shot when you went off camera, or what happened there? Hello? Billy? Uh-huh. This is live. Just so you know. No. Not talking to you. Talking to Cliff. Except Cliff's not there. So I was just like talking. Okay. Anyway. I don't know why I cut it off there. I don't know what came in after you sat down. But yeah, so
as what was before.
Yeah. So no, it wasn't you going to the bathroom. I apologize for that. It was you trying to go calm down your dogs. But
you're just so used to me leaving to go after.
I am used to you going and leaving and going to have to pee. But yeah, so that was that was really just me talking to dead air, and I just thought we couldn't let that go without honoring that. So, and then finally, the last outtake we have, and this isn't really an outtake so much, is when we're doing recording, when I'm recording with somebody and I'm walking them through, like, tape syncing is what the industry term, where you record on both ends and then you combine it together. So we use various techniques in order to sync up the audio and make sure that my track matches with your track. One of which is we'll do a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 clap. And the other one, which is I'll ask a question and then the other person will answer that question. And then based on the timing of that, we'll know that the audio clips are in sync. So with our latest Beyond the Doubt guest, Ali Goldberg, since she is a comedian, naturally things took kind of a funny turn when I asked that question. So, so this is actually probably my favorite of the 4 outtakes. So let's go ahead and play this one.
And then, what is your favorite kind of sandwich?
My favorite kind of sandwich? I don't think I have a favorite sandwich. Can I say peanut butter and jelly?
Absolutely. I mean,
Child's.
So on the sandwich spectrum, are they all equally good or are they all equally bad?
I think they're all equally good.
Okay.
And this is pretty California of me, but I love very artisanal, douchebaggy sandwiches too.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So if there's ingredients that like I'm a peanut butter and jelly girl, and then this has ingredients that I can't even name.
Okay. Yeah. All right. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
But
I had to make sure that I wasn't online with a sandwich hater, because if I was, my audience would just absolutely go crazy.
Yeah, those people are disgusting. So
yeah, that's
yeah.
So that was one of the more interesting turns that tape sync question took. So
I feel like there are 2 different kinds of sandwich people on a basic level, though. And I had this discussion with my wife, and we are on opposite sides of this argument.
Okay.
So are you the thick bread, more minimal, stuff in between, or do you prefer less bread, more meat, whatever it is, whether it's peanut butter and jelly? But
it kind of depends, actually. My wife can't get enough in between the bread. When I make her a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, I have to consciously think to myself, okay, that's as much as I would put on. Okay, this is a ridiculous amount of peanut butter on here. Okay, now I need to add a little bit more, and then she'll be happy with it. So, for me, she
likes the Dagwood.
She sure. But when it comes to something like a Subway, I could go for definitely more meat. The footlong pro, if you will. But yeah, so for me, I could definitely go for more meat inside there. The problem is with a lot of sandwiches is if you overstuff them, they start to fall apart. The bread integrity can't hold up to the ingredients on the inside. So when it comes to making a Subway, I usually get a meatball sub, and I'll always tell them put as little sauce on there as possible, because when I eat, I don't want it to turn into a party favor on the other end, So,
especially because most of the time when you're eating Subway, at least during the pandemic, you're probably taking it home or eating it in the car.
Right.
It's had
you can't
time.
Eat Subway in the car. Are you mad?
But it's had enough time to be, especially if it's one that's been toasted or if it has hot ingredients, it's had enough time for that humidity generated by the steamy ingredients to soak into the bread.
Yeah, that's
the
true.
only thing that's worse than that, as far as destroying a fast food sandwich or whatever you want to call it, is actually Taco Bell or tacos from a fast food joint. Because if you get a crunchy taco and then you try to eat it in 20 minutes, if you got a little bit of a commute there, it's literally going to fall apart the minute you take it out of the wrapper. But yeah, so my wife falls on the almost all bread spectrum. She honestly, I could just give her a slab of bread with I could just let the meat be near the bread, so she gets a whiff of it, and then she's all about the bread, and I just want there to be a good balance, so that so that I'm not parched when I'm eating it. I don't want to feel like that all the bread is soaking up the moisture from my mouth, but I don't also want so much that when you eat it, it goes like you're saying, a party favor out the other
Yeah,
end.
out
like
the other end. Yeah.
Squishing out. This is good tech radio right here.
It is. It really is. And I was actually thinking, we're like 20 minutes into this thing, and like, we haven't talked about tech at all. So we should probably
tech.
Get around to it. And like one of the first things that we're going to talk about is, I'll tell you what, why don't we do this? Why don't we change things up a little bit? Like, because we had a couple of behind the curtain episodes this month. We had the Imposter Syndrome with Cameron, and we had the Worst Part of Your Job with Joe Hindy. And I'm thinking, why don't we just skip over those for now and maybe circle back to them if we have time later, because there was a lot of other stuff that happened this month.
Oh, yes.
And let's just go ahead and start off with the iPhone event, because honestly, I think that was probably the biggest thing to happen in the tech world. You could argue the Amazon event, but that episode is actually going out today, which is October. So this will be fodder for the next Doubting Thomas, which will also be a special edition, folks. So you should definitely show up for that if you are a patron at patreon.com/benefit of a doubt. Anyway, so let's talk about the iPhone event first. And I've got the iPhone 13 Pro. I sold my 12 Pro and got an insane amount of money for it, so I was able to pick up the 13 Pro. I actually also picked up the Apple Watch SE. So I finally, and that again gets discussed in October. So because I talked about that earlier on this episode as well on October 3rd. So anyway, but yeah, so we had the iPhone, we had the Apple Watch 7, we had the iPad Pro Mini, it's not the Pro Mini, but I call it the iPad Pro Mini. We had the 9th generation 10.2-inch iPad, which is basically the exact same as the 7th and the 8th generation, except now they have a slightly faster processor. And then we got the iPhones, the Mini, the iPhone 13, the iPhone 13 Pro, and the iPhone 13 Pro Max. So, and we had Vyyyper on. Vyyyper is a fellow Chicagoan, and he is actually the MC. He actually was the MC of Vid Summit that happened just last weekend. So that was kind of a big deal. And so, like, he's really been killing it in the video creation space. But yeah, so like, what were your overall impressions of the iPhone event, and like, what was your favorite part of it, Mr. Cliff?
Of all the tech that was introduced, I have to say I felt like the iPhones were needed improvements, especially on the battery side, but overall it was very iterative, which
sure,
I would say it was the talk, if we're talking the TikTok cadence that Apple, along with a lot of other manufacturers, have. But they do look like great products. You can speak to that better than me. At the time, I was most impressed with the iPad Mini.
Okay.
I wouldn't call it the iPad Pro Mini. I would call it the iPad Air Mini, because
same thing. Yeah.
No M1, no, but yeah, it's got the iPad Air design language with the larger screen.
USB-C
has the A15 Bionic, whatever they're calling their.
And that has the fingerprint sensor on it, or was that was that Face ID? I couldn't remember. Yeah, it was the fingerprint sensor.
No, it has the fingerprint sensor built into the power button
on the side. Yeah,
instead of right. So yeah, it was something that's needed, and I'm not gonna. My only thing about it, I guess, was that I felt like. I think it starts at $499 or $5.
Yeah, it starts at $499, which is
I wouldn't say that it's not a good value at that price point, because I mean, power wise, it's got the same updated processor that the new iPhone series has. It's not like it's that you're not getting value for your money. I don't know. It's just kind of an oddball in the lineup as far as the fit, because you have like the standard iPad, which, by the way, can we talk about what other company could get away with basically having the same industrial design for like
Three generations of iPad?
Yes.
So, like, I'm not actually mad about that, because since it has the exact same design, you can still use the accessories that you bought for the iPad 7. Like the Zag keyboard that I love, I can still use that on an iPad 9th generation, which is actually why I very seriously considered selling my 7th generation iPad and getting a 9th generation iPad just to get the new silicon. Because
I think
go ahead.
The main reasons for that is because the standard iPad is used so much in enterprise and especially education.
Yeah.
So yes, exactly.
So a lot of kids
you're talking about, right?
Yeah, and a lot of kids in schools are going to have the bumpers for the iPads and stuff like that, and they're not going to want to swap all that stuff out. So yeah, that's actually, I didn't even think about that, but that's actually a good point. So,
but yeah, I still I understand why, but it just tickles me a little bit. It doesn't make me mad. I just think it's funny. It's like, oh, and here's the new iPad, same as the old iPad, except it's a little faster, and on to the next thing. It's not like they spent a whole lot of time on it.
The iPad is dead. Long live the iPad.
It's table stakes for them, and I don't know how much margin they have in it and all that, but I guess I don't know, with Apple they probably do, but it's also about volume, I guess, with that model. But yeah, it does look so outdated compared to, especially now with even the iPad mini having that updated, slab-sided goodness. And so
and I gotta say, the iPad mini was actually my favorite announcement there too. So I want to play around with the cinematographic mode on the video of the iPhone, but really that's about the only thing that's there, except for the larger sensors for night mode and stuff like that. But when it comes to the iPad mini, that was actually probably the one big announcement for me that I was really interested in. I was a little disappointed though. And I mentioned this during the interview with Vyyyper. I was disappointed that they decided to pro it up or air it up so that they could, charge more for it. If I wanted to get an iPad mini, I would want that to be somewhere around the same, 300, 350 maybe price range. But starting at 500, that just feels like a little bit on the hefty side. And I'm not 100% convinced. I should be convinced, but I'm not 100% convinced that I could just go with an iPad mini full time and not have the full size iPad, because, especially if I wanted to, create on the go or something like that. Right. So I don't have a 2nd generation Apple Pencil either. So I would have to get that too. And it would just be a headache for me, which is why I did not pull the trigger on that. Plus, I was also already kind of used up my budget picking up the Apple Watch.
And what you're saying there is such, if you're talking about a larger sense, right? And I know we're probably going to discuss some of this later, but, when you're buying a tablet, whether it's a new iPad or if it's, one of the updated Surfaces or something like that, most of the time, you're not just talking about the price of entry for the tablet itself, because, yes, you're going to have those updated accessories. That whether it's Apple or somebody else, but especially Apple, they're not. I mean, the Apple Pencil 2 is what, $100, 150,
something like that. Yeah, I could look it up while you talk.
Even a simple folio case is $50. So I mean, it's a big investment. And the other side of that though is, especially with iPads, I mean, it's typically something you're holding on to for 3, 4, 5 years.
$129, by the way.
I mean, it's not out of the price range of the competition, but I still just think it's golly.
Yeah,
they're just printing money.
They are. It's really a little sick, and especially when from everything that I've read, Apple has not nearly been affected by the supply chain issues that other manufacturers have been, and whether that's attributed to Tim Cook doing Tim Cook things, or whatever, just Apple. Did Apple see something like this coming? So did they just stock up or something? I don't know. I don't know where. I don't know how they're, because the other thing that was surprising about the iPhone announcement was everything came out that following Friday like normal. Because you'll recall last year they had 2 of the phones were in October and 2 of the phones were in November. So, but this year they just dropped everything all at once, which was also a little bit surprising given the issues that other manufacturers have had.
That is That's a really good point. Yeah, that's right. Maybe they just because it has been, that's actually, that was very out of character for Apple to have much of a gap between announcement and shipping.
Yeah.
So last year. So yeah, I think were just trying to get more into form. I will say that going back to just the ridiculousness of I'm going to talk about repair actually in this case. My wife has an iPhone 12 Pro Max, and she has cracked the screen, which, given the fact that she has a severe case of droppy hands, this is actually in the 10 years that she's been using iPhones, this is the first screen that she's broken. So
really, okay,
I'm okay with that. And granted, I mean, she does always have a thick case. I mean, she knows that she has droppy hands, and so we prepare accordingly. But we took it to one of those kiosks in the mall today, and the guy, first of all, we got there a little early, and so we walk up. The guy's got a phone apart, and he looks at us, and she says, "Hi, we're here early, but." He goes, "What kind of phone did you have?" And first of all, you have to understand, you have to sign up. You go to their website, you put in all the stuff as far as the model, what's wrong with it, and then they give you this really broad, it could be this, depending on what you have to do, which is ridiculous because from what I later experienced, he goes, "Whoa," and he kind of looked around I don't think I have the part for this. At least he seemed kind of unsure.
Really?
And he goes, that's going to be $380, right?
Oof.
And I said, well, the digitizer's not broken. It's just the glass. He goes, I know, but you can't order them separately. You have to it's one piece.
Right. Yeah, that's not surprising.
And $80. That's a mid-range phone. That's almost the price of an iPhone SE.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's a little ridiculous. Sorry, hang on a second. That's a little ridiculous. So, yeah, I mean, so you don't have AppleCare on those?
No, I will the next time.
Yeah, you see, that's the thing is, I did not get AppleCare, and I'm kind of wondering if that's something, because I actually saw on Twitter, if you get AppleCare and you pay the $200 flat fee for the 2 years,
right,
then if you sell the iPhone, you can actually transfer that AppleCare with the iPhone, and that actually increases the resale value. So instead of the 87.5%, maybe I'll even get 90% of resale. So I'm kind of tempted. I've got 60 days to add the AppleCare, so I'm thinking about it. So we'll have to see, but.
Well, I always, when I actually bought Apple computers, and this was back in the early to mid 2000s, I always added AppleCare because their warranty without it was ridiculous. I mean, it was 6 months. It was terrible.
Right.
But one of the benefits was, and I assume it's still, obviously it still is, the fact that if I was to sell it to somebody, the AppleCare actually transfers. It was a bit of a pain in the butt because you had to go on and fill out a forms
and stuff like that,
right? But yeah, it was definitely if you were somebody who wasn't planning on keeping the device for a long period of time, or just thought that you might, that's a great benefit to have. So
so I don't want to get we burned all of our time budgets on flashbacks, so we should probably continue on. The iPhone 13 Pro review is going to be coming in the next 2 weeks, give or take. I think I have that slotted for the 17th, I believe, is when my calendar says it's going to happen. So so keep an eye out for that. It's going to be largely camera based, because that's one of the biggest additions. The 120 hertz screen, can't see it. But anyway, maybe if you see it, Cliff, you'll have a better different take on it. But I cannot see the 120 hertz. So, all right. So let's move on. The other tech thing that we talked about this month was your review of the Moto Edge 2021. Was it that?
2021. That is
okay. I couldn't remember the exact branding of it, but yeah. So the Moto Edge 2021. Are you still using that phone?
I have not used it since I reviewed it, but I've also had some other phones. I've also had some other phones come in, so that's not on the Moto.
Right.
I will say, if I hadn't been out of the return window, I would have returned it. But
So, yeah, I get it. Well, maybe you can use it to trade in for something. Maybe you can use it to trade in for a Samsung phone and get $9,000 back for it or something like that.
That's I would actually be surprised if Samsung actually even has it on their list.
I think they do for like the Galaxy Flip or something like that. I think I doubt you would get anything approaching retail value for it, but I want to say because there are only a couple of brands that Samsung had. Maybe I can't remember if it was Samsung or if it was Apple for the iPhone 13, but one of them had Motorola phones on the list. So I wasn't sure. I didn't look for specifically that one, but yeah. So coming up, we can talk. I've got the Moto G100. It is. So that's coming up. It has a ready for package in here and a certain other little teaser here that if you're watching the video, you'll see what I'm holding up, and if you're not watching it, then I'm not going to tell you what it was because you should be watching the video. That's how this works.
We'll have to compare notes because that's one thing I have not tried yet. The Moto Edge 2021 also supports Ready For.
The Ready For. Did you get the cable with it and everything? And did that come with it or?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it came with a USB-C to, I guess, USB-C cable.
HDMI or something, or
I don't.
Because I want to say this cable is USB-C to HDMI.
Yeah, it probably does require that now, or if you have a monitor that supports USB-C.
Oh, that's possible. I'm just gonna pull this out here real quick. Yeah, so it's if you can see, it's got the USB-C on the one end and the HDMI plug on the other end.
That's actually got some kind of it's got the that is an active HDMI.
Okay, yeah.
It's got the little chunk.
Yeah.
So anyway, interesting. Yeah. Well, that's good. That's probably how they power a larger monitor.
Probably, and display. At the risk of really pissing off Juan Bagnell, I'm not actually all that interested in having my phone power my computer. Ready For DeX, I really don't care. And you'll notice during the S21 review, I didn't talk about DeX at all because I don't care. I've got a computer for that, Right. Whereas Juan Bagnell, he makes all of his videos on the phone itself and stuff like that. No, thank you. I tried doing that for a while, actually. I tried making videos on phones, and you know what? It's just a little bit too clumsy. And maybe it's just me, I don't know, but my fat sausage fingers couldn't get the accuracy that I would be looking for from a
maybe
point.
If you had a Note or an S20 Ultra with
maybe
or something.
Maybe.
But that's a talk for another day.
That is a talk for another day, but yeah. So I mean, we did a back and forth on the Moto Edge 21. So I mean, we kind of covered most of the stuff. Was there anything that we maybe didn't cover that later on you were thinking, oh, I should have talked about that? Or
I will just say, even more so now, now that I cannot return it, I'm super glad that I got it for the $4.99.
Oh, sure.
Free price instead of the $6.99 price that it's actually priced at now. No, it's I will say, because I've actually used a comparable phone in terms of price. I have a Pixel 5a, and then I'm actually I don't know. We're not under an NDA with the Xiaomi. So
no, that's already been announced.
Yeah. So having used the Moto, having used a few different TCLs of different calibers. And so I mean, it's a fine mid-range phone. There's nothing.
As long as you price it like a mid-range phone.
Exactly. It's just that what the thing that I'll just say very quickly is that I had and I discussed this in our back and forth on it, and I think it sticks out to me more now than ever. It's not that it's a bad phone in itself, but when you compare it to the same model, price-wise and everything last year, the Moto Edge Non-Pro. It's just not as nice a phone. It doesn't feel as premium. It doesn't have the AMOLED screen. It has a worse camera in terms of the performance. It's just I don't understand it. So I don't, and I really don't understand a lot of Motorola's strategy right now with phones anyway. And I think I've said that multiple times, so I won't beat the dead horse. That poor horse is just nothing but some skin and a little blood on the floor. Now we beat it to death.
Oh, poor horse. But I totally agree. But Motorola, I mean, is really doing well in the low to mid range space. That's kind of their bread and butter, and that's what allows them to do stuff like the Moto Edge, which won't sell largely because they're pricing it wrong. So like, yeah. And, I have to wonder like where TCL will eventually end up in that conversation, in that low to mid range conversation, especially here in the States with other manufacturers like Xiaomi, showing up over in, Europe and the Western and the other Western markets. So it remains to be seen. Like Motorola is still going to do very well in those particular spaces. And spoiler alert, I've got a review coming up for Digital Trends for a budget Motorola phone in the next couple of weeks, if it ever gets here, but that's a different conversation. But anyway.
I will say this, that I feel like, number one, have TCL being in this market, along with there are, and I know we don't normally discuss rumors, but a little bird told me that Xiaomi may be making moves to actually market devices here in the U.S.
In the U.S.?
See.
Nice. That would be cool.
Just, it was some kind of filings with the United States government, so we'll see. It could just be nothing, or they could just be, setting up infrastructure for 5 years from now. But my point being that I am with Motorola, not to say that Motorola is doing bad things with phones, but I feel like with the increased competition, maybe we'll see them step up their game a little bit.
Yeah, I would love to see Xiaomi phones in the U.S. Like the few Xiaomi phones that I've had the opportunity to test out, I have enjoyed them quite a bit, and they're always priced very well. Xiaomi has that. Do they still have that? Company policy where they'll only make like a 5% margin on Kitty Cat.
As I know, yes.
Yeah. 5% margin on phones. So, I mean, that's pretty cool. And especially if you can bring that to the US, of course, once you add in like US tariffs and import taxes and whatever, there's probably still going to be over, $10,000 or whatever. But yeah, so like, I would love to see more Xiaomi phones in the US. And like, one of the things that I always say when I report on Xiaomi devices is, we'll never see it, but this is actually kind of cool, so.
It is. And they are, I think they just became recently either the number 1 or number 2 phone manufacturer in the world as far
number
as
1
sales by
yeah
volume.
Yeah.
So that's impressive considering that 5 years ago they had like one phone.
Right?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
It had been longer than 5 years, but it wasn't. I mean, they've been around less time than like Oppo, for example, as far as in making smartphones. So
yeah,
and they are huge. And I know I've said this before, but they are a lifestyle brand in Asia. I have a bedside lamp from them. I have luggage from them.
Oh, that's fun.
It's ridiculous. So yeah, one thing they have that I really love to get. They have this cool little drill that's like USB-C rechargeable and comes with like in a little like zipper pouch, and it has little bits. Yeah,
neat.
It kind of looks like those little handheld massagers that have like the little hammer thing on. Anyway,
I've got a drill that's powered by micro USB.
It actually looks a lot like that. Just imagine it like that, but then like looking like it was designed by maybe not Apple, but it's got that sleek like matte black finish and all that. So yeah, they're an interesting company. But
what's weird? You know what's weird about this Ready For cable? I was just pulling this out while you were talking. Like, there's a USB-C port in the back of the HDMI plug. So like, what is that for?
Probably maybe for power.
Maybe. I mean, there's no other power cables in here or anything.
Or maybe it supports a USB out or USB-C out for monitors.
Oh yeah, maybe if you want to add a second monitor to your phone. Okay. Well, okay, but in fairness, with that other device that I held up and teased before, if that would be 3 monitors for your phone. So yeah, we'll see. But anyway, I just thought that was kind of funny when you were talking
forward
about
to the day when your office looks like the Minority Report like display wall.
Right. I'm looking forward to that too. But anyway, all right. So just a couple other stories. In fact, you know what? Let me go ahead and do some patron stuff before we run out of time here. But yeah, so we're gonna do our Patreon shout outs, starting off with Cliff, as always, because Cliff is still a patron of the show, and love you, bud. All right, and other $5 patrons are Zachary Palmer, and Cliff Thomas, I already mentioned you, Josh Stone, Michael Kepper, Neil Wilson, and Scott Brady, and finally, friend of the show, Mike Hahn, BenderTube. Go check out BenderTube OG on the YouTubes. He's still building Legos, and that's a lot of fun. Speaking of which, I've got that space shuttle speed build that I really need to finish editing and put out on the YouTube channel.
I didn't realize you hadn't finished that yet.
No, I haven't put it out there. The thing's been built since July 4th, but I haven't.
There are literal tumbleweeds in your YouTube channel now. Just
I know, and I'm hoping to change. I'm hoping to make some changes very soon that will allow me to pay more attention to the YouTube channel. So, hopefully, we'll see. Fingers crossed. No announcements yet, though. So hopefully I'll have a personal news tweet coming up in the next few weeks. So, but anyway, yeah. So, all right. So thank you very much to the patrons for doing that stuff. That is all awesome. And if you want to be a patron, go to patreon.com/benefitofthedowd or benefitofadowd.com/support. So we had two pulling back the curtains this month. We had the Imposter Syndrome with Cameron Summerson, and we had What's the Worst Part About Your Job with Mr. Joe Hindy. Now, the whole purpose of this is to give users kind of like a behind-the-scenes look as to, like, not just the Benefit of a Doubt podcast, but, like, just being in the tech field in general. So, one of the things, the reason we debuted with Imposter Syndrome was, well, because Cameron was the first guy I got a hold of. But Imposter Syndrome is a very real part of my existence. And what was surprising about this is it's a very real part of a lot of people's existence in the tech space. Like, you hear about this all the damn time, and like nobody really talks about it. And like, Imposter Syndrome, for those of you who didn't check out the episode, the Reader's Digest version it's the certainty in your head that you don't know what the hell you're doing, and any minute, other people are going to figure that out too. And like, they're going to point at you and say, you don't know what you're doing. Get out of here. We hate you. Go die somewhere. And yeah, so that's kind of like, that's like almost every day for me, to be perfectly honest. I've got a podcast that I've been doing for 18 months now. I'm making a full-time living off of writing in the tech space, and I've been doing that for 4 years now. And yet still every day I wake up wondering, is this the day that everyone's going to figure it out? So
it is the mirror image of fake it till you make it.
It is. It really is. Or maybe it's the natural component that comes with it, because like maybe everyone's going to realize that you are faking it and you're never going to make it, I'm not sure like what it's such a pain in the butt to live with just because like it's terrifying. It really is. There are days that it's like literally terrifying, but we talked about like some things that you can do to like get past it, to like work past it. Cameron mentioned that what was it, Whitson Gordon, I believe it was, that he was working with. Hang on, I can look up in that. I don't remember his last name. I remember Whitson. Whitson Gordon. That he was that he used to be editor-in-chief of How to Geek, I think. And, when he first applied, Whitson like replied back and said, I'm so glad that you applied because, I really love your stuff. And like, and he's like, to this day, I look back on that and that's like what keeps me going. Like, that's what, works past it. And he's like the editor-in-chief.
A moment in a sea of doubt.
Yeah, I mean, like, and he's the editor-in-chief of Review Geek, and he still deals with this. Russell Holly famously on Twitter mentioned that he, like, wakes up every day wondering and he's the managing editor over at CNET. I mean, like, these people are big deals. Like, I'm just me, whatever. But, like...
I mean, I deal with it. I don't have, through faults of my own, a degree in graphic design, and I've worked very hard to get to where I am, but then we had several times I've had a new coworker just come out of college, and I just have that feeling of like, I'm going to be called out because they'll have something that they'll ask me if hey, can you help me with showing me how to do this? And I'll be like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And the next thing you see is me being thrown out the front of my work like GJ Jazzy Jeff on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
That was the first image that came to mind too. So I'm glad you went there too.
That's something I think about every day. And I mean, there are some, for me, like, I mean, I do try to keep up with trends and stay up on my job, but it is, I think it's more, I think in a lot of ways it's like mental illness in that I think it's a lot more prevalent, especially like depression, anxiety, all that kind of stuff that is just not talked about that much. And it's healthy for especially people like us to talk about it, to air it out, because it's real and it's out there, and more people than you know are dealing with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, honestly, to my audience, if any of you are suffering from this and you want to talk about it, my DMs are open. So, just reach out and say, hey man, I feel like this too. And like, I'm happy to, tell you whatever I can about it. Although the imposter in me is right now screaming, nobody's going to ask you because you don't know anything. So, I mean, like, there we are. So,
well, and I do think, because I think you and I share a similar sense of humor, which is that self-effacing sense of humor, right?
Yes. I
think that's like a component of it too. Maybe partly yeah. So
100%. So like, I'm an idiot. I know that. But at the same time, like, I know what I'm doing. Like, and I think I said this during the intro of that particular show was like, I know for a fact that I know what I'm doing, but at the same time, I know for a fact that somebody's going to wake up and realize that I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And so it's like, it's such a dichotomy. It's like, it plays at odds with each other. But
everyone to hear somebody who is out there and has really made it, like not in our space, well, in media, and is Conan O'Brien.
Oh yeah,
who is the king of, number one, self-effacing humor, and two, he came in from being a writer on SNL, but really didn't have a lot of camera-facing experience, a lot of interviewing experience, and was brought in to replace, I guess it was David Letterman.
Yeah.
So he's now retired, but even before he retired, I mean, there's tons of interviews with him out there. Probably especially like after he left NBC and started on, I guess, TBS like 10 years ago. Just go out there on YouTube and watch it. It's really interesting. He's also got a podcast, I think, too, and I'm sure he's talked about it on there. So, if you're looking for a resource or somebody that, really has made it and has dealt with imposter syndrome times 1,000, I mean, he's definitely one of the ones that first comes to mind for me.
Excellent. I did not know that. So that's fun. And your camera just went out.
I see that. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I can't see you.
Restart your... Okay.
Are you going to have to come back in?
No, I don't think so. We'll just deal with the camera not working.
Oh, okay. That works too. Yeah, I think we're about to wrap up here anyway. But yeah, and then like the other thing that we talked about was with Joe Hindy, like what's the worst part of your job? And his was very relatable. It's the there we go. It's the super long days that are associated with writing in this industry. And I would actually add on to that and say not only the super long days, but also the stuff that like drops and you need to get this out there right now. Like, for example, when you have like at Digital Trends, just recently when the Microsoft event came out, I wrote a news piece for that, for the Microsoft Duo, writing the announcement of the Microsoft Duo. And we actually got an embargoed press release the night before. So I was able to, write out that and like just get it ready. And then what we did was we just watched the presentation, right, and if anything changed, if they happened to mention anything that wasn't in the press release, then we just went in and made that change really quickly. So like in the case of the Surface Duo, Microsoft announced that it was the world's thinnest 5G phone, and that wasn't in the press release. So I had to go in and add that manually. Time out real quick. What's up?
Done.
No. Do I look like I'm done?
The red light went off.
Oh, it shouldn't have. Okay, like 10 more minutes. I know, you'll be fine. And then so then there was that, and then like with the Amazon event, same kind of deal, like, you know, because I freelance at Digital Trends. That's not my primary job. So like typically when news breaks, they can't rely on me because I'm working full time over at LifeWire. That's the other, that's the main job that I have right now. So, they approached me and they said, hey, can you write up a news thing for the Amazon event tomorrow? And I said, well, if you have a press release, I could write it at night and then have it ready in the morning. And they're like, okay, well, yes, we do have a press release. So they gave it to me and I was able to write up a quick news piece, that evening, which was fine. I probably shouldn't have, because honestly, I had too much to do that night anyway, but, I wanted to help a brother out and I'm a workaholic. So what the hell? But yeah, so like when it comes to stuff like that, but there are times, like I remember this was also for Digital Trends.
Sorry,
there was,
could you say that again?
Shut up.
Sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you.
Who's even talking? Anyway, so this is for Digital Trends.
Siri.
Yeah, I don't remember what the event was, but like we had some kind of event that was going on, and I was assigned to write something about, it must have been smart home because I wasn't working in mobile at that point, but it was like some event that they didn't give us a press release ahead of time. So we just had to watch the event and write the news as it went along. And that was just freaking terrible. I hated that. Like, because if I'm going to watch an event, I want to sit back and absorb the event. I don't want to have to like try to grab details as it's going on. But, and then like, the stuff with like what Joe was saying was like when you get, like I think his was a new beta for Android 12 dropped, and like he had to get a video out that day, and so like he woke up at 9:00, the thing dropped, and so he had to like download the beta, get it installed, work with it, find all the little stuff in it, write out a script, record the script, edit the script, shoot the B-roll, and like put the whole video together. He said, he ended up saying it was like 12 to 14 hours worth of work that he had to do in one day. And like, that kind of sucks. And that's the kind of stuff that you run into in this industry. Like, it's nice. It's fun. Don't get me wrong. Like, and like the one message I wanted to impart is like the job that I have right now, the absolute worst day that I have on this job is 100 times better than my best day on any other job that I've ever had. So, I mean, it's like, it's such a relief to be able to work in this industry and like, where, you really feel like every day is like a good challenge, and also you're learning stuff, and you're also, helping to inform other people about what's going on, and, playing with toys. I mean, it's like, there's a lot of great parts about this, but it's not all wine and roses. And that's, that's what I wanted to
I think
get out
a lot
there.
of people do have a glamorized vision of what it must be to be, what I think sort of the one they'd put is like the ideal thing would be like the tech YouTuber, right? And it's,
right. It's a grind.
I don't create YouTube videos, but I do for for this podcast every once in a while do audio reviews, and even that's I'm writing 5 minutes of audio is what 4,000 no words or more.
Yeah, I would say about
But, I'm doing that, and then I'm editing it, and then I'm creating the audio, and then I'm editing that. But for me, I will say being a graphic designer, at least in the graphic designer is such a huge term as far as like what it can mean. It so depends on the industry. But since I work at a resort in the marketing department, we had, especially during COVID, I definitely had one of those moments the other day. It was Friday, and it was 4:50. I normally get off at 5:00, and the county that my resort is located in decided to issue a mandate that any business that was open to the public, all patrons would have to wear masks.
Okay.
And so you can imagine, my resort is 11,000 plus acres, right?
Yeah.
With a whole bunch of different apartments and things. So basically, I had to create an entire resort's worth of signage on Friday when I was getting ready to go home.
That sucks.
And it was just like the drop. Oh, it was terrible. And make sure that it got to all of the right parties, because some things we don't have the capabilities to print there, so we have to find somebody to print it on a Friday afternoon, which means we have to call people back in or go to a business and have them stay late, which means we have to pay like
extra.
That are ridiculous. Yeah, it was just. But I mean, meaning it's just we all have those kind of those days that are not fun.
Yeah, so, I would imagine. I would imagine. So, all right. Well, I think we have just about wrapped up everything that, I did want to give a shout out to our Beyond a Doubt guest, Allie Goldberg, who was a delight to talk to. She was a lot of fun. And if you haven't tuned in to Two Girls, One Podcast, it's a good one. I like it. It's part of my regular staple. I skip an episode every now and then just because the subject matter doesn't really reach out and grab me, but it's fun, and it's tech stuff. So it's more about like internet communities and stuff like that. And, that can be a whole new world by itself. Coming up this month, I don't have the entire month planned just yet. And that's mainly, it's Techtober. That's mainly just because I'm like still trying to wrap my head around like everything that we need to get in here. But this month coming up, next week is going to be a long episode because I've got an interview talking about the Pixel 5a with Era Wagoner from Android Central. Android 12 is supposed to be dropping this week, so hopefully there will be a significant software portion in there as well.
Windows 11 is dropping on Tuesday.
Yeah. So, so Windows 11 is dropping on Tuesday. I'm not going to be talking to Era Wagoner about that. But after that, we've got earlier today, I released the mini review of the Apple Watch SE and a segment about the Amazon event that we'll talk about at the end of the month. Let's see. After the Pixel 5a, we've got the iPhone 13 Pro review. And after that, I think we're talking about doing a Xiaomi review on the 24th, right? That's what's on the docket for that. And then I believe Halloween is on October 31st. So
has been for
yeah, right. No, but I mean, I believe it's on a Sunday. Oh. So I'm not sure what we have queued up for that day. Maybe a Moto review, maybe a Lenovo review. I don't know. So we'll have to see. But yeah, next week, in addition to that Pixel 5a thing, I think I'm also going to do a mini review of the Swagtron hoverboard that I've had in my possession for a while now. And unfortunately, my Swagtron hoverboard tester kind of fell and broke her arms earlier in the year, so we had to put that one off a little bit. But I've been putting it off way too long now, so we need to get that one out the door as well. So, and there's
say that is one of the worst brand names ever.
Swagtron.
I really wish that they had put an A in it in between the swag and Tron.
Swagatron.
Because then it would be the coolest sounding transformer ever.
It would. But anyway, so yeah, that's what we got going on for Techtober. So I hope you'll stick around and enjoy the show. And for now, I would like to thank Cliff for coming on, even though he's very likely COVID positive. And I would like to thank everybody else for giving us the benefit of the doubt.